I'm glad to answer your questions. You too, Melissa.
Okay, and so, folks, we're going to start with Randy Smith. And Randy, if you'd like a mic, I can give this to you, or...
Yeah.
Okay. Turn that on, please.
Testing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Randy Smith. I have 5 children, 3 of which swim on the Amarillo swim team. My question is not directly related to the downtown project, but indirectly it is. To begin with, I think the concept of the downtown improvement is great. I've been in areas like Fort Worth, etc., that have that, and I'm 100% in favor of it. What I'd like to talk about is swimming and diving in Amarillo, Texas, or lack thereof. I made a few notes about an hour ago. Children and adults in this community can participate in sports and activities such as golf, football, baseball, basketball, softball, tennis, track and field, soccer, cross country, wrestling, tennis, volleyball, motocross, ice hockey, roller hockey, fencing, bowling, shotgun pistol, rifle, archery, martial arts, boxing, cycling, racquetball, cheerleading, frisbee golf, powerlifting, showing animals, equestrian activities, acting, ballet, choir, band, orchestra, trampoline, gymnastics. But you cannot hold the swimming and diving meet in Amarillo, Texas. But you can hold it in Oklahoma City, Albuquerque, Abilene, Andrews, Pecos, Carlsbad, New Mexico, Midland, Lubbock, Pampa, Odessa, Monahans, Clovis, New Mexico, Hobbs, New Mexico, Liberal, Kansas, Spearman, Texas, Dodge City, Kansas, Ulysses, Kansas, Guyman, Oklahoma, Wichita Falls, San Angelo, and Waco is similar size to Amarillo, and they do hold swimming meets there. It's my understanding that, the city did commission a study 2 years ago to come up with the feasibility of a swimming and diving facility in Amarillo, and it's my understanding that's been now wedged into the downtown program. So what I would like to know is, when can my children's grandparents watch them swim and dive in Amarillo, Texas, instead of having to travel 200 miles?
Thank you very much. Let's see, Tuesday, we had a dinner and that question also came up. There has been a number of questions on that. Presently, that's not part of the agreement that we have with the city. However, because it has been brought up, we have been working with Vicki Bryant, have talked to her about the opportunities and have had a number of meetings to investigate that further. We have talked to her about travel. In fact, we've actually toured places in Kelly. We've been to Frisco and a number of other places that have had different levels of aquatic treatments. We've also had some dialogue with the U.S. Swim folks to start gaining more information. So what I would tell you is it's something that we have heard is of interest, and so we're taking steps to investigate it further. At present, it's not a part of the project plan. We do not know how it would be funded. I understand that study had 4 different potential proposals of varying costs and varying amenities. I think that as we move forward with that information, and there needs to be a thoughtful dialogue on that, just like there is everything else, and that needs to be presented so that as we move forward, there's significant public input from the entire community. Is that helpful?
Yes, sir. I want to know what the status was. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Okay, and sir? And does anyone else have a speaker card? I'll be right over.
My name is Joe Lovell. I've been working downtown with the exception of 3 years since 1982. I guess my concern is more on the public side of this public-private partnership and what I perceive to be things that are going to be impediments to things you're talking about wanting to accomplish. I'm wondering what's being done about those things. And at the area of downtown where I'm at, I think it can be boiled down to 3 things. The Barfield building, graffiti, and the showdown that we had downtown on Polk Street a few months ago. I've been very thrilled about the development of Fisk and the Courtyard by Marriott. I've been trying to get people to come downtown and stay there. And I also try to get people to come downtown, eat dinner, that kind of thing. And Those three things come up constantly, and they are an impediment. And I want to know I really think that's probably the city's part of this partnership. I want to know what's going to be done about that. We've been talking about the Barfield building for years, and there it still stands in its glory, if we want to call it that. So that's my question, is what are we doing about those things to help move things along and get people downtown and help with what you're trying to do?
Excellent question. Let's start with safety first. We agree with you that the community needs to have a safe place to have the destination activity. There knows what's coming. If there's even a perception of lack of safety, that creates a problem. In Waco, prior to the development, there was a kind of an unwritten rule to the incoming freshmen at Baylor: "Thou shalt not go west of I-35. You will get mugged, you will get robbed," all those kind of things. The problem with crimes against people is you have to have people have crimes against. And in Waco, that was a perception problem because there really wasn't anyone downtown. But because there was a perception, what we did was we addressed it by developing a public improvement district. We worked, if we're going to make an investment, it's important for us to make sure that investment can be viable, and you want to make sure that it's a safe place for the people to live, work, shop, play, invest, learn, all those types of things. So we worked with the city. The city was very proactive in helping us create a number of means to help address graffiti, to help address those things. In Sugarland, on the public side, we had similar desires to make sure that we had, in the case of the First Colony Mall, we had a management district that had additional increased security. In the case of Amarillo, that is something that I will tell you in conversations that we've had with your city leadership, both elected or appointed, it is of concern to them. It is something that they are looking at, and they recognize that whether it is real or perceived, that perception of safety must be important. It must be valid and it is safe. So there are things underway. I'm not going to speak for the city, but I will tell you that from my perception, that we're satisfied enough that the city is going to take steps to make sure that not only it is safe, but there's a perception of safety, that we would want to make an investment downtown. Second thing, with respect to Barfield, like it, love it, leave it or hate it, this is a free market society, and that building is owned by someone in the private sector. So the ability to move forward with that, because you don't want to use eminent domain to take facilities like that, it is owned by someone in the private sector. So what we have done is we've actually reached out to that individual. We see the opportunities beyond the area that we're invested. We see that there's an opportunities to make investment beyond the public-private partnership, to make investments in this community, and we see that as one of the jewels of the community. Will it move forward? It'll move forward if the economics work. And we're doing our investigation on that right now. I can't give you an outcome for it, but I can tell you that it's something that we've already looked into. Please.
Just to add to that, the issues of perceived crime, and I know the Western shootout that occurred was really unfortunate, although I think it's a pretty unusual event. Downtown really doesn't have a lot of crime, but as a perception of crime, as Joe said, that's just as important to address. One of the things that we've been exploring is a public improvement district. A public improvement district would be funded essentially voluntarily to reach out to property owners to see if they are willing to pay for particular services. And in this particular case, it would be security, keeping downtown clean and green. Some of that perception is trash on the ground, which automatically makes people think this isn't a safe place. So things that add to that perception, that isn't just the event that occurred, it's other things, the graffiti, for example. But I think, and that's important to address in that way, but also I think we have to remember the bigger picture. And why do we have these issues? Well, we have these issues because we don't have enough people downtown 24/7. At different times of the day, people living downtown, people working downtown, people coming downtown for, ball games or concerts or what have you, people going to school downtown, going to WT or AC. You have to have that 24/7 activity. That makes those issues go away. Yes, we need to be on top of those, for example, with help of a PID, for example, and other strategies. But when you see the picture that I showed earlier of how downtown was fully developed And over time, we've been torn down so much of the fabric, and you're left with vacant land and weeds and parking lots. That is what ultimately creates that issue. And so from a broader perspective, that's what we're trying to address by redeveloping downtown and filling in those holes.
One additional thought, not every fix requires additional cash. In the case of where we dealt with things in Sugar Land, it may be that you have higher profile vehicles, you change your routes of what your patrolling is, you increase the visibility through a number of means. There we even developed a CAST, a citizen group that was part of the police academy, essentially the Citizens Police Academy, that participated. So there's a number of things that you can do that don't increase the cost, but have a dramatic impact on the perception of safety as well as the actual safety data.